I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. What do you think that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe. It's my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we prepare for our 22nd race of the second season of the NNSCRA Duracell Ultra Lite Series. This is playoff race number 2, the middle race of the first round of the postseason here for the Duracell Ultra Lite Series drivers, and another opportunity for one of our 10 playoff contenders, I should say 9 of our 10 playoff contenders, to win their way into the next round. The reason I say only 9 is because one driver is already moving on after last week at Road America. Colin Grace, going to victory lane for the second time this season, now locks himself into an automatic ticket into the round of 7, which means that here today at Nashville Super Speedway, next week at Dover the Monster Mile, worry-free. Anything can happen. Back-to-back DNFs, doesn't matter. Colin Grace is going to be racing in the round of 7. We still have to determine, though, the other 6 drivers that will be moving on along with him. On the flip side, we got a bunch of drivers that they're just looking to go to victory lane to finish out the season. Didn't make it into the playoffs, and a couple of drivers on the front row have formerly been to victory lane, and they'd love to go to victory lane for a second time here this season. Nathan Stapleton lining up on the pole position, his first pole of season 2. Of course, former winner back at the Chicago Motor Speedway, and would love to get career win number 2 here this afternoon. Alongside of him, Autumn Brooks, who took the checkered flag back at Watkins Glen just prior to the end of the regular season. Didn't have enough points to be able to advance into a wild card position, and so she's looking just for her second win on the season. Some drivers trying to get some momentum here in preparation for if they return in Season 3, maybe move up to the Cup Series in Season 9. Who knows what the future may hold. Ralph Mason and Kat Batson, a couple of drivers that are looking for their first wins of the season and first wins of their career. They're going to line up on the inside and outside of row number 2. And Cole Coybe, another driver that is a former winner of the season that wasn't high enough in the points to advance into a wild card spot. Won back at Manassas earlier on this season, and so an opportunity here to go to victory lane for a second time in his Duracell Ultra Lite Series career. Our top 10 playoff contenders all intermingled throughout the field. Some did fairly well in pole day qualifying here yesterday. A bunch of drivers did not, and are going to be starting deep in the field. This racetrack is 1.33 miles in length. It is concrete surface. We'll have to see. It's been a while since we've been to this racetrack, and I believe we didn't run it in the Light Series last year. We ran it only on the Cup side, so I don't recollect exactly how difficult / easy it's going to be to pass. We'll have to see if some of those playoff contenders that are starting a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of track position, if they'll be able to make it up, especially if they've got good long-run race cars. Well, it's time to go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports. 90 laps await these drivers here this afternoon, and we'll get them started here as we get the command to fire them up.
Drivers, start your engines!
Right side of your screen, you'll see your starting lineup for this afternoon. 31 drivers getting ready to take the green flag in this one. A bunch of Cup Series drivers taking part as it's a doubleheader this week with Lights and Cup at Nashville. And we'll take a look at what your point standings are coming into this race, your playoff points. Colin Grace, already moving on to the next round, is top of the board. Total of 3 points ahead of second in the standings. That's Cam Wright Jr., who's starting in the 10th position here this afternoon. Juan Garcia is third in points. 13 points out of the points leader. Berta Crown Jr. is fourth. He's 14 points back. And then Aubrey Powell is fifth, 17 points back. Cody Majorek sits sixth, 20 points out of the points lead. More importantly, 14 points ahead of the cut line. The cut line driver is seventh in the standings, Eli Bright. Skylar Taylor is eighth in points, 1 point behind seventh in the standings. Kyle Langley is 2 points back in ninth, and Jordan Anderson is only 2 points back as well in 10th. So it is really close for that cut line spot of seventh in the standings. Here we go, 90 laps of racing this afternoon at Nashville Super Speedway, and Nathan Stapleton will lead him into turn number 1. Couple Garage 55 Mazda teammates to duke it out for second place, with Mason against Autumn Brooks as Stapleton clears both lanes. Brooks trying to battle around the top side, and we'll get the second spot back from Mason. Mason will slip back to third. We'll be side by side for fourth as Stapleton will lead the first lap. Cat Batson will take the fourth position now, leaving Cole Coybe, Daniel Voiles side by side for fifth place. Look at Voiles ripping the top there out of that dark gray. You could probably run up there in the early going, but as marbles start to migrate their way up towards the top of the racetrack, grip I think is going to start going away in that line as we're 3 wide further back. That is Cup Series driver Jack Mitchell way up the racetrack. He was 3 wide with Roberta Crown Jr. and Skylar Taylor, a couple of our playoff drivers. There's Eli Brighton, the 20. Cut line driver, 7th in the standings coming into this race. A lot of pressure on that Trackhouse Racing entry. As up at the front, we had a challenge for the race lead into 1 and 2. Autumn Brooks got to the inside of Nathan Stapleton, but Stapleton a much better center of the corner off, able to get the run off of turn 2 onto the back straightaway. Goes back to the point, and now Autumn Brooks kind of trapped on that inside line as Mason will move around the outside for second. Cat Batson looks to capitalize as well to move to third. Looks like that outside line starting to come in here really quick. A lot of momentum up there. Drivers on the inside line getting a little tight maybe on the exit of the corner. Can't quite get back to the throttle as soon as they would like to. David Dixon now up there on the outside line behind Daniel Voiles. They're looking to move to 4th and 5th around the top side. David Dixon, another driver that's a former winner this season, back at Phoenix, who didn't finish high enough in the point stand to be considered for a wild card spot. Multi-time winner here in the Duracell Ultra Light Series, including back in Season 1, the inaugural season. And Daniel Voiles right now the highest running of our Cup Series regulars. We've got quite a number of them here this afternoon, trying to get some extra track time in preparation for tomorrow's race, which is an elimination race for the Cup Series drivers. Their third race of the playoffs, the first elimination race, and we will be whittling the 16 driver playoff grid down to 12. At this point in time, nobody is locked into the next round. There's a couple of drivers, but when we take the green tomorrow, they've been consistent enough in the first 2 races, they'll more than likely point their way into the next round of the playoffs, but nobody has been able to win their way into the next round, unlike here in the Light Series where Colin Grace was able to do so right out of the gate. Highest of our playoff drivers right now is Cam Wright Jr. He's now looking for 6th position around the outside of Autumn Brooks. Next highest would be Eli Bright, who is currently in 8th spot. Is Autumn going to try a tuck up there in front of Cole Coybe? Couldn't do it. Coybe's got to get around her for 7th, and Brooks will now drift back into the 8th position. Looks like she'll finally find a place in line after being freight trained, stuck on that inside line for a good portion of the early going of this run. There is Eli Bright, 9th position right now for him. Just try to keep himself ahead of other drivers really close to him like Skylar Taylor, Kyle Langland, and Jordan Anderson for that final transfer spot in the next round of the playoffs. Again, this is only the middle race, though. Eliminations for the Lite Series don't take place till next week at another concrete-based racetrack, the Monster Mile in Dover. Got a trio of playoff drivers right here. The 70 of Cody Majorek, 6th in points. Roberto Crown Jr., 4th in points. And Skylar Taylor, who is the first driver currently outside of the top 7 in the standings, and that's 29. Taylor right now in the 13th position. 14th going to go to Sean Galligan as he moves around Cody Majorek. Majorek now slides back to 16th. Looks like for the most part, pretty much single file up here at the front as Ralph Mason closes up on Nathan Stapleton, who has led the first completed 9 laps of this race. Let's drop to the back. Colin Gray started shotgun on the field, but again has the luxury of knowing that he's going to be in the next round of the playoffs regardless of what happens here tonight and next week at Dover after winning at Road America. Let's see if Colin Grace has made up any ground since the drop of the green flag, and it looks like the answer would be yes. Colin started 31st, dead last on the grid, and right now scored in 24th, so making some forward progress is that Exalta Toyota. This team now with that luxury of being locked in the next round, they could be aggressive as well in terms of their strategy, in terms of how they want to approach these races. Some drivers would be a little bit more reserved, big picture racing. Colin doesn't have to do that here for the next 2 weeks. Do have a couple of playoff drivers back here towards the rear of the field, though. Kyle Langland, who came into this race 9th in points, below the cut line. Jordan Anderson there just beneath him in the 89, who came into this race 10th of the 10 playoff drivers. So these two definitely need to start figuring something out here. Maybe waiting for this run to go a little bit longer, allow the setup to come to them, or maybe relying on potential pit strategy to gain track position. But right now they are in a bit of a deficit, a bit of a hole right now in terms of where they would be according to the live point standings. Do have a number, as we mentioned, of Cup Series drivers in this race here tonight. We saw up towards the front Daniel Voiles. We've also got Eric Sadler in the All-Star car for Bishop Family Racing here this afternoon. Reggie Fogelman behind the wheel of the Trackhouse All-Star car, and Anthony McCrory in the All-Star car out of Garage 55, right now holding down the rear of the field in that Celsius Mazda. I believe there's one other Cup Series regular that took part here this evening. I believe it's Jack Mitchell. Yeah, there he is, 11th place in that McDonald's Chevrolet. Fogelman, Voiles, Sadler, and who was the other driver? And Mitchell. All are playoff contenders on the Cup side and are looking for this extra track time here tonight to help them advance into the round of 12 tomorrow afternoon. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we covered this earlier on this afternoon in pole day qualifying on the Cup Series side. I believe that Reggie Fogelman is pretty much locked into the next round on points. He just needs a decent finish. He doesn't even need a great finish or an outstanding finish to be able to advance into the round of 12. I believe Jack Mitchell's kind of close to that conversation as well. A couple of drivers that are not, though, Eric Sadler and Daniel Voiles. So we'll see what this extra track time does for them, as Mason had a run, tried to the bottom here on Nathan Stapleton, not going to be able to make it work. As he'll try and tuck back up here in front of Cat Batson before they get to turn 3 and not lose out on any more positioning. Not able to do so, leaves the door open. Cat Batson will pull up alongside of him, gets that nice run off of turn number 4, and Batson will move to second. Mason's got to get himself up there to that outside line quickly. Tuck in front of Daniel Voiles, still not going to do so as now Cam Ray Jr. jumps to the bottom. That'll leave him susceptible to Cole Koibe, who's going to try and get a run here off of turn 2. Just looks like that inside line may be the shorter way around the racetrack, but it is obviously not the faster way around the racetrack, especially as the run goes on and the tire heat builds up in that right front. Not as much turnability off the corner as there would have been in the early going of this race. So it looks like more drivers than not trying to catch each other out. Getting up to that right rear quarter pan, looks like Mason will tuck in line in 4th position, but now blue ovals 1, 2, 3 with Stapleton, Batson, and Voiles. One thing we love about the Lite Series running the same weekend as the Cup Series ever since we moved over to the same physics for both respective series is the Lite Series always gives us a little bit of a template, a little bit of an idea of what to expect on Sunday afternoons. We're about to come around here and put lap 20 on the board, putting us a little less than a quarter of the way through this race, and we don't know exactly what the fuel window is for these drivers, how far they can go on fuel. More than likely they'll be looking for tires a lot more than they will be for fuel, but I think if the tires allow, you run it as long as the fuel window will let you go, and this will give us an idea of what to expect in terms of potential green flag pit stops here tomorrow afternoon on the Cup side as well. I would assume if you are able to go far enough, I think you'd want to split this race maybe into thirds. Maybe make it a 2-stop race. We'll have to see. If they have to come to pit road sooner than lap 30, then we're looking at a 3-stop race here, and that final pit stop would have to take place somewhere in the vicinity of 5 to 10 laps to go. Kim Ray Jr. now battling with Autumn Brooks. That's side by side for the 6th position. Doesn't take long for them to tick laps away here at this 1 1/3 racetrack, but they are clamoring for grip when it comes to the concrete surface. Let's go on board with the Flamin' Hot Cheetos Chevrolet and listen to just how much on the throttle time do we have here, as he's in a great battle with Cole Coybe, Ralph Mason, Autumn Brooks, and others. That big lift there on the entry to the corner. That's allowing for side-by-side racing. A lot of drivers having to kind of tiptoe it, baby it through the center of these turns now. Hoping that the front end turns, hoping they can find that straight line speed off the corner. Having to wait a little bit longer on the throttle. It's got them stacked up, 3rd place on back. Daniel Voiles now getting caught out by Cole Coybe, who's going to go around the outside of him. We saw when we were on board with Cam Ray Jr., Ralph Mason drifting back. Looks like he's going to drop back to around 8th place. We've actually got our top 10 all broken away from the rest of the field. 11th place, Jack Mitchell, currently being scored about 2.2 seconds behind the driver at the tail end of this group, which was Jackson Haywood, now appears to be the 45 of David Dixon. If they continue to battle up there, this group might be able to catch back up. We'll see what the interval is this time from 10th back to 11th, and it looks like it is still around the 2.2 second range, as now Roberta Crown Jr. will look to the inside of Mitchell for the 11th spot. So a lot of people might have been asking, as we were documenting that tomorrow afternoon there are going to be a number of drivers on the Cup side that have all but locked themselves up spots into the next round on points. Would there be any drivers here tonight in a scenario with where they are in relation to the cut line? If they have a decent run here this evening to build off of that, could they find themselves locked into the next round, the round of 7, going into Dover next week? And the answer to that is actually yes. Colin Grace, as we know, is already locked in, but Cam Wright Jr., who we now see in the middle 3 wide, if we look in relation to the cut line, 7th in the standings, he comes into this race 31 points ahead of the 7th in the standings spot. There are 31 drivers that took the green flag last week at Road America, 31 drivers taking the green flag here tonight. The number of points that you can get maximum during the course of a race of these drivers here in the Lite Series, if we end up having what's been our maximum number of 31 drivers with the Cup Series drivers included, is 47 points. And if you compare that to a driver that finishes in 31st position, then that is a total of 36 points that you make up on that particular driver. So by proxy, 36 points is the buffer, the gap that drivers would be looking to have, 36 or more points ahead of the 7th in the standings cut line going into next week's elimination race. Being 31 points ahead of the cut line coming into tonight, Cam Wright Jr. could conceivably have himself that 36-point buffer to 7th in points at the conclusion of this one and find himself locked into the next round on points next week, regardless of what happens at Dover, even suffering a dead last finish. Now, again, this is also speculating that we have 31 drivers show up next week. If we have 30 or 29 or 28, then the number gets smaller. The odds increase that Cam Wright Jr. could advance into the next round. Juan Garcia, 21 points above the cut line. Roberto Crowd Jr., 20 points ahead of the cut line. They need a little bit more extra help here tonight. They'd need to gain another 15 to 16 points on the 7th in the standings driver, which right now Eli Bright is having a good run, 6th position. He's actually now getting around Cam Wright Jr. He is the highest running of our playoff contenders. So the cut line will move. The cut line would shift more than likely to another driver. And it looks like Roberto Crown Jr. may have dropped back since we last saw him. Yeah, he was up there battling for 11th. He's now drifted back to 20th. As they continue to race here in this second group. There's Juan Garcia. We just mentioned his name. 3rd in points, 2-time winner, one of 4 multi-time winners on the season, winning that regular season finale back at Auto Club. Battling with Nathan Fogler for 18th, or correction, make that 17th, 3 wide ahead of him. Playoff contender Aubrey Powell in the middle with Sean Galligan, Chris Dollerton taking him 3 wide. Going to be 3 behind them with Fogler up the middle, Cody Majoric on the top side, and Dollerton going to lose a number of spots there, trapped on the bottom line from turn 4 all the way over to turn 1. Skylar Taylor now leading this second group, which is continuing to lose some ground here to that front pack, now 2.4 seconds. Lost another 2/10 here on 10th place on back. As here we go. We got some leaders coming to pit road. Jack Mitchell is in. Jackson Haywood. It's like our race leader Nathan Stapleton is coming down pit road. Was that Daniel Voiles? I think I saw it back behind him. Autumn Brooks. Brody Kupski also in this lap. So running the undercut is our race leader and about a half dozen drivers. Here comes Kat Batson, who got herself a bonus point for a lap lead coming in this time. It's like Eli Bright going to stay out along with Jackson Haywood. They're going to run a little bit longer. Dixon, his teammate Cam Wright Jr., Ralph Mason, all in this time by. We did cross lap 30, so looks like 2-stop race here. Pit stops taking place between laps 33 to 36. So they'll only have to come to pit road one more time here if we continue to trend green. That's a valuable bonus point there for Eli Bright coming in, that cut line driver, 7th in the standings. He'll have the fresher tires here on the longer run. We'll see if that pays dividends for him. Doesn't look like anybody else is going to try and stretch it any further than the completion of lap 35. Everybody else back in this time. And this should turn the race lead back over to the 97 of Nathan Stapleton momentarily. But look how Daniel Voiles was able to gain some track position there on that pit stop. He's going to be right on the back bumper of Stapleton. Kat Batson almost able to leapfrog him there. Close. Pinning one lap later, but looks like she'll cycle around into third. And now we'll see about the leader of that third group, Eli Bright. Where does he cycle around to? He's not going to be in the conversation for the race lead. They're just bypassing him now. On the entrance to turn number 1 is Daniel Voiles on those fresh Goodyears, trying to see if he can get the lead from Nathan Stapleton on the inside line. Nothing doing at least that time there through 1 and 2. This time around at the start-finish line should put Nathan Stapleton back to the top of the board. He's led 32 laps so far here this afternoon. Has had the dominant car after starting on the pole position. Here comes Voiles trying the inside line again. I think it's just too shallow of an entry there. It's not enough banking to be able to lean into on. You saw the car kind of push up there through the center of the corner. I feel like that's why the inside line is not quite as viable a choice, as viable an opportunity to make passes as one would originally think. So Stapleton indeed just jumped to the top of the board. Daniel Voiles leapfrogs to second. Kat Batson would lose a spot, going from second back to third, but still definitely in the hunt. Cole Koibe now in the fourth position with David Dixon completing the top 5. Autumn Brooks trying to reel him in. Currently runs in 6th. 7th place for Cam Wright Jr. Eli Bright going to have a little bit fresher tires than the drivers ahead of him. Was one of the last ones to pit road. Cycles to 8th. Jackson Haywood in 9th. And Jack Mitchell actually going to start reeling in some drivers there. Solid pit stop for him as he's trying to hold off Ralph Mason for the 10th spot. Mason in 11th, Skylar Taylor right now in 12th, Aubrey Powell in 13th place, side by side for 14th, Sean Galligan going to swing around the outside of Cody Majoric, or attempt to at least. 16th place be Brody Kupski, 17th just exchanged hands, that's Jordan Anderson going around Nathan Fogler, drifting him back to 18th. 19th is Colin Grace after starting shotgun in the field, and Greg Batson currently in the 20th spot. 21st would be Juan Garcia, 22nd Michael Turner, 23rd, teammate Chris Stollerton, 24th, Dave Smith, and Anthony McCrory is currently in 25th. 26th place be Eric Sadler, 27th, Wes McCoy, 28th, Mike Tellier, all the way back to 29th is Roberto Crown Jr. with teammate Reggie Fogelman in 30th, and Kyle Langland is running in the final position, 31st. Couple of drivers there, Roberto Crown Jr. and Kyle Langland, playoff contenders. Not where they wanted to be after this cycle of pit stops. They've got half the race still to be able to try and mount a comeback, but especially for Kyle Langland coming into this race below the cut line, you do not want to go into a racetrack like Dover next week in a must-win scenario to be able to advance into the next round of the playoffs. And right now, that is the outlook for driver 26 if he's not able to find his way back closer towards the front. For Roberto Crown Jr., he would be down in what we would call the danger zone if he's not able to get his race turned around. And just the wheels kind of falling off the train there for him. I mean, we checked in on him. He was up at the front of that second pack battling with Jack Mitchell for 11th position. Got freight trained on the inside line, fell back outside of the top 15, and now finds himself way back towards the tail end of the field after the cycle of green flag pit stops. Getting stacked up here at the front. Voiles shows the nose on Nathan Stapleton. Cole Koibe's been able to reel in this pack of 3. Now makes it a 4-car fight for the top position. And if they continue to battle, look for David Dixon, Autumn Brooks, Cam Wright Jr., Eli Bright, and Jackson Haywood to maybe close up and make this a 9-car lead pack. Voiles now trapped on that inside line, going to lose a couple of spots. Goes from second back to fourth. We'll look to tuck in line behind Cole Koibe as David Dixon fast approaches. Check in here on Mitchell and Mason in 10th and 11th. Goes to about 2.5 seconds. Back behind the 93 of Jackson Haywood. Was wondering if they battle up here inside of the top 9, if they'll have a shot of getting up here into this lead group or not. So they've got it single filed out here, at least at the tail end of this pack, is Voiles and Dixon. Going to battle for 4th position. Kat Batson might have tried a move there just moments ago on Nathan Stapleton. Looks like she lost some momentum off of turn 2. That opens up the door for Cole Koibe to try to get to that left rear quarter panel. And he'll now tuck in line in front of Daniel Voiles, sliding into 3rd. Been a dominant afternoon so far here for Nathan Stapleton. He has led now 42 of the completed 45 laps. The only other drivers that have led 2 circuits out in front for Eli Bright, 1 lap led for Kat Batson. They're the only drivers that have cashed in on the lap-led bonus point so far here tonight, and that was back during the cycle of green flag pit stops. Stapleton has dominated this race after starting from the pole, looking for the 2nd victory of his career here in the Duracell Ultra Light Series, off the heels of his first career victory back at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Stapleton, one of the longest tenured drivers here in the Duracell Ultra Light Series. Same can be said for Kat Batson, David Dixon as well, Roberto Crown Jr. A reminder of what's to come here this weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's our first elimination race of the season for the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series drivers. 16 drivers will head in with the aspirations of moving on to the next round. Only 12 will do so. 4 drivers season. Their run for the championship will come to a close to end off our doubleheader race weekend here from the Nashville Super Speedway. And next week, another doubleheader at another concrete surfaced racetrack, as Miles the Monster will be hungry for both the Lights and the Cup Series drivers as they'll make their way to the Monster Mile. It will be the elimination race here of the first round of the playoffs for the Light Series drivers. It will start round number 2 for the Cup Series drivers, as we'll kick things off on Friday with pole day qualifying on the Light Series side at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday at 1, the Cup Series drivers will take their turn for pole day qualifying. 3 p.m. on Saturday, the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers go green. And 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, the Cup Series drivers will look to cap off what is sure to be an exciting race weekend. I believe then that the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers will be off. We won't see them again until we get to Arizona Speedway, which, double check, I believe is a 1 week off week for those drivers. Yes, Cup Series drivers the following week will be at Atlanta, and then we will have the doubleheaders resume at Arizona Speedway. That will be yet another elimination race on the Cup side. That will only be the first race of the next round, the round of 7 for the Light Series drivers. Take a look at this. It is getting racy up here in this lead pack. Kat Batson is actually going to get Nathan Stapleton for the top position. May have almost kind of moved him up out of the groove as she got to his left rear quarter panel. And that's one of the few rare passes we've seen made on the inside line here tonight, as she puts the Aussie Hair Products Dark Horse Mustang out in clean air. Kat Batson, we mentioned that she's been in every single Duracell Ultra Light Series race going all the way back to season 1, but is yet to go to victory lane, looking for the first win of her career. David Dixon trying to get by Nathan Stapleton here for second. See that run that they're able to get on the inside line off the exit of the corner. It looks like the inside line on entry does not have the momentum, but they're starting to find something through the center of the corner off on that inside line. I think that's how Cat Batson made the pass, was able to get to the left rear through the center of the corner, and then was able to get back to the throttle, moved Stapleton up the racetrack, and was able to, in essence, muscle the race lead away from him. Stapleton will hang on for second as Autumn Brooks, high, wide, and handsome around the outside of Cam Wright Jr. to pick up the 5th spot. Look at the momentum that Cam lost. Inside line, that run off of turn 2 for Eli Bright. Trying to take 6th place away, but not able to follow it up there with that shallow entry into 3. Hold the phone, though. Bright trying to get that run off of 4 on the bottom. Not able to clear, though. Going to be stuck side by side again here on the inside line to turn 1, so that should get the 95 by him. You saw right there that major lift through the center of the corner, and now Eli's going to pay the price. Daniel Voiles going to go by him as well. Jackson Haywood going to tuck in line. And it looks like with this battling in this lead group, now more and more drivers are starting to get up here into the conversation for a top 10. Ralph Mason is caught up to the tail end of this group. He's bringing Jack Mitchell along with him. Aubrey Powell and Skylar Taylor, a couple playoff drivers right there, starting to enter up into this conversation, along with Sean Galligan, Brody Kupski, and others. So this battling up in this lead pack benefited drivers 10th on back. As now Mason with a big run down the back straightaway, looks to the inside of Jackson Haywood, but ooh, I was going to say, not quite able to get to the left rear quarter panel. He got into the left rear quarter panel there of Jackson Haywood going into the entrance of turn 3. Little contact exchange between those two. Further up, Cam Wright Jr. trying the outside of Daniel Voiles to hang on for 6th. Cole Coybe holding off Autumn Brooks for 4th position. As now Nathan Stapleton, for the first time really here this afternoon, having to deal with dirty air. He's been out in front for a majority of this race, and now runs in the wake of Cat Batson. Cat looking for the 2nd win on the season for KB Racing Enterprises as a whole. Craig Batson getting their first checkered flag of season 2 back at the Texas Motor Speedway. And looking at the numbers here, we've still got about another 12, no, actually, correction, we've got another 12 laps or so, 10 to 12 laps before we start to see drivers dive onto pit road for the final time here this afternoon. Around lap 70 seems to be the median lap that they could go to, which will leave drivers with what they've got for the final 20 laps of this race. Now remember as well, Cat Batson ran a lap longer than Nathan Stapleton did during that first cycle of pit stops, so we'll see if Cat runs the option of going an extra lap again here or not, or being the leader, does she then maybe go for the undercut strategy that we saw Stapleton do when he was the leader? The driver that we'll have to keep an eye on that will maybe run long would be Eli Bright, currently in 7th. He went 2 laps longer than Stapleton and 1 lap longer than Cat Batson. It cycled him around to, I believe it was 8th or 9th position. We'll see if maybe he switches it up, maybe goes with the undercut strategy here, as Stapleton under fire for 2nd. David Dixon had a nice run down the back straightaway, but could not clear her off of 4, so Stapleton will keep 2nd place. Dixon will look to slot back into 3rd. It has him stacked up for 4th place with Coybe and Brooks side by side. Daniel Voiles looking to see which lane's going to move here. Brooks might actually get enough of a draft here with help from Voiles to maybe get Cole Coybe. Let's see if she can dive it into 3. Not nearly as fast through that corner as Cole Coybe was. Coybe going to slide around and hold on to the 4th position, at least for the time being. Dixon going back for 2nd. Really shallow entry there into 1, though. He's going to pay the price. Coybe trying to swing to the outside, not going to be able to get to the right rear. Dixon's going to have to slide up quickly if he's going to hold the 38 in his rearview mirror, but he stays low. Koibe going to look to take advantage. Wow, that is way up the track for the 38. Maybe a little too high. That may have actually helped David Dixon be able to hold Koibe off. As Dixon continues to run their middle groove going into the entrance of the corner. That might be also kind of running outside of the wake of the 97 in front of him, trying to get some clean air to the nose for the entry. But a little bit shallow over an entry there than what Koibe was running, though he was able to keep Koibe in the rearview mirror. So Dixon still third, Koibe in fourth. Side by side going to be for fifth place, Eli Bright. Trying to put those fresher tires to work. He'll pick up a couple of spots right there. Gets by a couple of the Mazdas. Brooks and Mason goes from now 7th up to 5th. And Jackson Haywood, good run there for another of the KB Racing Enterprises drivers. He just moved into 6th position, following in the tire tracks of Eli Bright. Been a solid evening for Cam Wright Jr., two-time winner on the season. Looking to at least keep that 20 car within close proximity. Cam Wright Jr. looking to have at least 37 points between himself and the eventual 7th in the standings cut line to lock himself into the next round on points going into next week at Dover. Aubrey Powell, good run for the 71. 5th in the points coming into this one. 17 points ahead of the cut line as things run. 17 points out of the points lead as well. And trying to finish this race out inside of the top 10 as we are fast approaching that final round of green flag pit stops. Duking it out for second place here with Stapleton, Dixon, Koibe, and Voiles. This all taking place 5 car lengths behind race leader Kat Batson. Looks like Stapleton going to hang on to the spot once again. And now if you're Nathan Stapleton, you are looking to get that race lead back from Kat Batson. You may have to rely on pit strategy to do it. We saw about 35, 36 laps, the maximum that drivers ran on that first green flag run. The window is open to make it the rest of the way if you get the car full of fuel. So we could see drivers diving onto pit road as soon as right here off of turn 4. And I thought maybe David Dixon might have been one of those drivers, but he just ran really, really low. Jack Mitchell's in, though. Cup Series regular, not running for points here in this series, so trying something outside the box. We saw him experiment back at Road America as well, and he finished well in that race. It translated to a good run for him on the Cup side, so I like this. You're not running for points here in the Lite Series. You're running for a championship over on the Cup side. Try something different. Looks like some others coming down pit road this time, including Nathan Stapleton from second. Daniel Voiles is in along with Aubrey Powell, Brody Kupski, Skylar Taylor, Autumn Brooks, Craig Batson as well. So this is an attempt by the 97 to maybe use the undercut to leapfrog Kat Batson and get back to the point. We'll see if it works out. Looks like Mike Tellier, last week's winner Colin Grace on pit road this lap as well. Let's see if Kat Batson answers and comes to pit road this time. She will. Eli Bright will actually come to pit road as well. Does not attempt to run long this time, but Cam Wright Jr., playoff contender, will. He'll get himself a bonus point for the lap led there as well. Could be a very valuable bonus point as he attempts to lock himself into the next round on points here tonight. Sean Galligan will swing around the outside of him, though. And Juan Garcia, another playoff driver, elects to run a lap longer. How long do we run? Do we stay out another lap? Yep, Galligan's going to. Extra lap for the 62. Garcia's going to come in, though, as will Cam Wright Jr. Looks like Dave Smith, Anthony McCrory, Kyle Langland, and Roberto Crown Jr. Actually, correction, that's Reggie Fogelman, all going to come down pit road. Kat Batson coming off of pit lane. in the 39. I think Stapleton is going to leapfrog her. Oh, it's going to be close. He did. Stapleton goes back to the point. And look how Mitchell was able to leapfrog a bunch of drivers with that undercut strategy. He's now going to move up at least to 4th position, maybe looking for 3rd here on Aubrey Powell, who also gained a ton of track position on that pit stop cycle. Doesn't look like the running long strategy going to pay off for drivers like Galligan and Cam Wright Jr. We'll have to see where those drivers cycle around to. I believe this is going to be the exchange for the lead, and Kat Batson, who elected to go 1 lap longer than some of the others that went with the undercut, is going to cycle from the lead now back to 5th. Stapleton's going to go back to the point. Just saw Galligan right there coming off of pit road. Cam Wright Jr. as well. We'll wait to see where those drivers cycle around to, but it looks like Stapleton will go back to the front with less than 20 to go. Voiles will go to 2nd. 3rd for Aubrey Powell now, the highest running of our playoff contenders. Jack Mitchell tried something different, gained track position as a result. We'll see if he's got that grip for the long run, though. If he can maintain it, he's now to 4th, and Kat Batson drifts from the lead, now back to the 5th position. 6th is going to be Eli Bright. Brody Kupski in 7th. 8th for Cole Koibe is up and into the wall. Is Colin Grace, I was just going to mention, started shotgun in the field, has run a very solid, methodical race to gain track position. Is going to lose the 9th position to David Dixon, drift back to 10th after riding the wall there through 1 and 2. But that is a net gain of 21 spots here in the span of 74 laps. That is impressive there for last week's winner. Skylar Taylor up here in 11th, 8th or 12th place rather is going to be Juan Garcia with Autumn Brooks 13th, Jackson Haywood 14th, and 15th for Craig Batson. Running long did not work out for Cam Wright Jr. and Sean Galligan. Cam Wright Jr. is going to cycle around to 17th place. Sean Galligan back in the 20th position. And I don't rightly know if there's really going to be enough time, even with potentially fresher tires, if there's going to be enough time for those drivers to gain back the track position that they lost at the latter portion of this run. Kat Batson tried to work her way back forward, got around Jack Mitchell for 4th. Now going to try and see if she could get 3rd place from Daniel Voiles. Going to look to the inside here going into turn 1 as Aubrey Powell now moves into 2nd place, putting the pressure on Nathan Stapleton. Last week at Road America, we saw Haas Racing Toyota Supra and Colin Grace lock themselves in the next round of the playoffs. Aubrey Powell would love to make it back-to-back weeks that a Haas Racing entry will be advancing into the round of 7. As Aubrey looking for her 2nd win on the season. Former winner back at the tricky triangle of Pocono. And looks to the inside of Stapleton here going into 1. Can she make it work with these fresher tires? Doesn't look like going to be able to get the run here off of turn 2. And now Daniel Voiles jumps to the outside to take 2nd position on back. Eli Bright, lot of pressure on this driver coming into this race. The cut line driver, 7th in the standings, has really been solid here this evening. Has remained up in the top 10 for most of the afternoon. Right now holding down 5th place. Easily should be above the cut line going into next week. The question will be by how much. Kind of dug himself a little bit of a hole, had to kind of climb out of after last week at Road America, but great comeback run here in this one. And how about Brody Kupski? See his teammate, Jack Mitchell, just up ahead inside of the top 5, but Brody's done a great job here tonight of consistently gaining spots on these cycle of pit stops. Currently running in the 6th position. Solid outing for the 41 car. Good battling here. 8th place on back. Looks like Colin Grace trapped and freight train down that inside line. David Dixon, Kat Batson, Skylar Taylor all moving by. Cam Wright Jr. on those fresh tires trying to make something happen back here. Looking for 16th on Nathan Fogler. Sean Galligan right behind him as well. They've got the freshest tires here on this run, but they don't have the track position is the big issue. Move back up to the front. Voiles did get around Aubrey Powell, so now Ford 1-2, then Toyota, Chevrolet, your top 5. As that time by at the line, Nathan Stapleton just hit 10 laps to go. He's got the most laps led bonus point locked up. That was his 56th lap led. But now is the question. He let Kat Batson get by him middle portion of that second run. So he left himself open to be moved up out of the groove. You gotta think that drivers have been told that information, and Daniel Voiles is being ever vigilant, seeing if the 97 makes a mistake here for him to be able to capitalize and be able to get on by. We kind of mentioned back at the conclusion of Gateway on the Cup Series side, Eric Monaco becoming the first driver to score a Lights and Cup Series victory. Now, he was the first driver to do it overall, but he was also the first driver to do it having a Light Series victory first, and then a Cup Series victory. Daniel Voiles there in the 23, looking to be the first driver to get a Cup Series victory first, and then a Light Series victory. So Eric Monaco will always hold the record for first driver to have a Lights in the Cup Series win, but Daniel Voiles could potentially be the first Cup Series driver, Cup Series winner, to pick up a Light Series victory. Jack Mitchell not that far back there as well in the 0-1, chasing that feat. Here we go. Voiles looking low with 7 to go. Can he get the run into 1? No, he cannot. And Aubrey Powell, look at how she drove it deep into the corner. Hold it. Hold on. See that little bit of a run there? Off turn 2. Can Voiles follow it up here into 3? Eli Bright diving low. Nope, looks like it's going to be Aubrey Powell getting the momentum off of 4. Aubrey's going to move into 2nd. If you're Aubrey Powell, I think you're looking more to try and get to the right rear quarter panel around the outside of Nathan Stapleton for this lead, rather than dive to the inside of him. Kat Batson's the only one that's been able to make that inside line work and to pass for the lead. And speaking of Kat Batson, she's now back in the 8th position after being the leader during that final cycle of green flag pit stops. Voiles is going to drop back now at least to 5th, maybe to 6th, as David Dixon's got some good momentum off of turn 4. For Aubrey Powell, for Eli Bright, a victory this evening means you're going to the next round of the playoffs, regardless of next week's elimination race at Dover. You know they're going to try everything in their power to get around this JBL Dark Horse Mustang of Nathan Stapleton, who's trying to run a defensive line there through 3 and 4, right down as close to that yellow line as he possibly can. For 2 of these drivers, they're looking for their 2nd win of the season. For Eli Bright, he's looking still for his 1st. Remember, he was one of 2 drivers that pointed their way into the postseason without a victory, Kyle Langland being the other. So he's still looking for his 1st career win, is Eli. Nathan Stapleton, I think, doing a lot of mirror driving. He seems to continually run the identical line that Aubrey Powell wants to run in every set of these corners. 3 laps to go here at Nashville Superspeedway. Good, clean racing here tonight. We have been green flagged since the start. We've seen a number of drivers utilize the lengthy runs, the green flag pit stops, to gain track position. On the flip side, a number of drivers that started with good track position have kind of given it up There's a lot of drivers I'm looking at towards the tail end of the field that are going to be going into next week. Must-win situations at Dover. Jordan Anderson and Kyle Langland specifically outside the top 25 and came into this race below the cut line. They will still be below the cut line. The question will be by how much? Powell putting the pressure, trying to see if there's enough room to get to the outside of Stapleton here into 3. Had to lift on entry though, a little bit of gap opened up there from Stapleton back to Aubrey Powell, and this time we'll see the white flag displayed across the hood. 1 lap to go here at Nashville Superspeedway. Nathan Stapleton started on the pole, dominated the first half of this race, gave the lead up to Cap Batson, got it back on the final pit stop cycle, has led over 65 laps here tonight, looking for that second victory on the season. One last-ditch effort here by Powell or Bright. Not going to be able to get there. Off of turn 4 for the final time. Second career win will occur here tonight for Nathan Stapleton at Nashville. Photo finish there between Brody Kupski and I think that was Cap Batson for either 7th or 8th. Going to be a great points night, though, for both Aubrey Powell and Eli Bright. We'll put them above the cut line going into next week, but Nathan Stapleton is going to get to burn it down for the second time this season. Got his first career win back at the Chicago Motor Speedway, and now gets it done here at Nashville. Becomes the 5th multiple-time winner on the season, joining Colin Grace, Cam Wright Jr., Juan Garcia, and Roberto Crown Jr. Comes the first multi-time winner in the Ford camp here in Season 2. Stapleton was 17th overall in points coming into this afternoon's race. I know that obviously it doesn't get you a championship, but there is a little bit of a rivalry that goes on with the drivers that do not advance into the playoffs to be the highest finishing of the non-playoff contenders at the end of the season, which would be 11th in overall points. So Nathan Stapleton will obviously get himself back up in the conversation for that. Race standings are official. Stapleton, your winner here tonight. Podium complete with Aubrey Powell and Eli Bright. Aubrey came into this race 17 points ahead of the cut line. Eli Bright came into this race the cut line driver. Both will build a bit of a gap now back to that cut line heading into next week. Jack Mitchell, great run here in 4th. Daniel Voiles in 5th. Cup Series regulars, we'll see them tomorrow afternoon. What kind of information were they able to glean here from this race that they will put into motion tomorrow, looking to advance into the round of 12? David Dixon, great run in 6th. Cap Batson led a total of 19 laps here tonight, but lost the lead on the final cycle of pit stops, finishes 7th. Brody Kupski will bring it home solidly in 8th. Skylar Taylor, another of our playoff drivers, going to finish in 9th. And Autumn Brooks will finish out the top 10. Let's see, Skylar came into this race first driver below the cut line, 8th in the standings. So well-needed run. We'll see if this should put Skylar above the cut line, but question will be by how much. Colin Grace didn't need to even run well here tonight after the victory last week at Road America. Locked him into the next round of the playoffs, but started dead last 31st, up 20 spots from that starting position to finish in 11th. Great long run speed out of that car once again. Cody Majorek, another playoff driver, good run in 12th. Cody was 6th in points, so they build a bit of a cushion going into next week over that cut line. Ralph Mason will finish in 13th, Craig Batson 14th, and Cole Koibe going to finish out the top 15. Anthony McCurry started deep in the field. He'll finish in 17th, so we did see the ability of drivers to work their way up through the field. Rest of your playoff drivers, though, outside of the top 15, Juan Garcia will finish in 18th place. Got to go all the way down to 23rd if I'm Cam Wright Jr. He kind of dropped like a rock. That call to run long on the final cycle of pit stops did not pay off for him, as he was looking like he was en route to a top 10 run. He'll finish outside of the top 20. Kyle Langland managed to finish back in 28th position. Never really was up anywhere close to even the top 15 here this evening. Langland came into this race 9th of the playoff drivers below the cut line, and Jordan Anderson came in 10th of the playoff drivers, finishing 30th. Those two drivers, borderline must win heading into next week, depending on how far behind the 7th in the standings cut line they're going to be. And Roberto Crown Jr., man, really fell back there second half of this race, finishing in 29th. Roberto came into this race with a 20-point buffer back to the cut line. We'll have to see if he'll have to use all of that buffering with a 29th place performance here this afternoon. And Reggie Fogelman, a driver that, if I'm not mistaken, heading into tomorrow's Cup Series race, can lock himself into the next round of the playoffs on points with even just a top 20 performance. Don't know how much information you're able to get running towards the back for most of this race. He finishes dead last in the 31st position. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Eric Seiler, another Cup Series driver, just trying to get some experience here this afternoon, finishes back in the 25th spot. So we'll see. We'll see if just those extra laps will pay dividends for the Cup Series drivers here tomorrow afternoon. But Nathan Stapleton denies any of our remaining playoff contenders an opportunity to lock themselves in the next round as he gets his second victory on the season. So we still, at this point, only know Colin Grace will be one of our 7 advancees. We have to wait and see who the other 6 are going to be. It may be all those 6 will get in on points at the conclusion of next week's race at Dover. But congratulations to Nathan Stapleton. He picks up his second win of the season, second win of his career here this afternoon at the Nashville Super Speedway. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here. If you did, be sure to give this a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We showed your full 50 results, and these are the point standings heading into next week as a result of tonight's finishing results. Keep an eye there around that 7th in the standings. That's the cut line heading into next week at Dover. Going to be a double header there with Cup and the Lite Series drivers. We cap off our race weekend here from Nashville Super Speedway tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. with the Cup Series drivers' first elimination race of the season. But until then, or next week, whenever you join us, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching the broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.